There are wounds you can't see, and those are the ones that bleed the longest. They don't break your bones. They shatter your trust. And now, you stand there, holding the fragments of a bond that never truly valued you. Did you hear them break? The sound didn't echo in the air, it reverberates in your chest, in the long nights when you try to find a sleeping position where your heart doesn't feel so heavy. It's the deafening silence after a broken promise, the cold void where warmth used to be. This wound doesn't need a bandage, it needs to be understood. It doesn't demand an apology, it craves peace. You may have watched hundreds of videos, read dozens of books on healing, but there's a harsh truth few dare to say outright: you cannot heal in the same environment that broke you. You will never find peace if you're still trying to prove something to someone who didn't care even when they had the chance. You think that if you could just get the last word, if you could make them see your pain, everything would be resolved. But you're trying to win a chess game against someone who isn't even at the board anymore. They've walked away, leaving you alone with the pieces of betrayal and disappointment. You might have clicked on this video with a flicker of hope in your heart, a hope for justice, for seeing the person who hurt you get what they deserve. Maybe you've imagined them filled with regret, realizing their mistake. The title has the word destroy, and our primitive brain craves that. It craves balance. But today, we're going to redefine that word in a much deeper way. This isn't about destroying their life. That's too small a goal, and it would only drag you down to their level. No, we're here for a much higher purpose. We are here to completely and permanently destroy the power they hold in your mind. Think about it. They are no longer in your room, but they still occupy space in your head. They no longer call you, but their voice still echoes in your self-criticism. They no longer hurt you with their actions, but you are continuing to hurt yourself with the memories. That is the power we are going to demolish. We will tear down the invisible prison they built in your mind, where you are the only inmate. We will sever the invisible energy cord that connects you to the past, the one that's draining your life force every single day. This isn't revenge. This is liberation. To do this, we won't rely on empty platitudes. We will arm ourselves with the two most powerful tools available, ancient Stoic wisdom and the discoveries of modern science. Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus taught us how to protect our inner citadel from the chaos of the external world thousands of years ago. They understood that the world can be cruel, people can be disappointing, but our final fortress, our mind, must be impregnable. Today, modern science, with its advanced tools, is proving exactly what those sages knew. Science shows us that emotional pain isn't just some vague concept. It leaves a biological trace. It changes your brain chemistry, affects your heart rate, your sleep, and even your immune system. So, this video isn't just a philosophical lecture. It is a practical guide to reclaiming your biological and psychological sovereignty. Together, we will explore why overthinking is eroding your health from the inside out, and how to stop it. We will learn how to turn pain into a launchpad for a level of growth you might not have thought possible. And finally, we will equip you with weapons not to attack others, but to protect your precious peace. This is not a fight against them. That war is over. This is a journey to rebuild you, an unshakable version of you, a version whose peace is its ultimate victory. The pain isn't just in your head, it's in your body. Do you recognize the loop? It often starts quietly. Maybe you're driving, an old song comes on the radio, and suddenly, you're not on the highway anymore. You're back in that final argument. You hear every word, feel their sharp, cutting silence. Or maybe it's in the middle of the night. The house is quiet, but your mind is a hurricane. You lie there, eyes wide open, staring into the dark ceiling, and the movie of memories starts playing. You rewind what they said, what they did, what you should have said. You analyze every detail, trying to find some meaning, some explanation for their cruelty. You ask yourself, why would they do that? What did I do wrong? This loop, it's painfully familiar. You think that thinking about it will help you solve it, that if you analyze it enough, you'll find the answer and be able to move on. But the truth is the exact opposite. In psychology, this loop has a name: rumination. It's not constructive self-reflection. Self-reflection is when you look back at an event to learn a lesson. Rumination is when you get stuck in the negative emotions of that event, like a car stuck in mud, wheels spinning furiously but going nowhere. You're not just remembering the pain, you are reliving it, over and over again. And here is the most critical part that science has uncovered: your brain doesn't really distinguish between an emotionally vivid memory and an event that is actually happening. To your nervous system, every time you replay that scene of betrayal, you're sending a signal to your entire body that says, "Danger. We are under attack again." And your body reacts accordingly. Each time that loop begins, your adrenal glands pump out a dose of cortisol, known as the stress hormone. Cortisol isn't always bad. In a genuinely dangerous situation, it gives you the energy to fight or flee. It increases your heart rate, raises your blood pressure, and releases sugar into your bloodstream for immediate energy. It's a brilliant survival mechanism. The problem is, your body was designed to handle stress in short bursts, not a 24/7 assault from your own thoughts. When you're constantly ruminating, you are keeping your body in a chronic state of fight or flight. Imagine you're driving a car. Cortisol is like slamming your foot on the gas pedal. It's useful when you need to pass another car or climb a hill. But what if you kept the pedal floored even when the car was parked in the garage? The engine would roar, the machinery would overheat, and you'd burn through fuel for no reason. That's exactly what you're doing to your body. This constant high level of cortisol is wearing you down from the inside. It disrupts your sleep, leaving you feeling exhausted even after a full 8 hours. It can trigger cravings for unhealthy foods, leading to weight gain, especially around the midsection. It weakens your immune system, making you more susceptible to colds and infections. And most frighteningly, it contributes to the long-term health problems that people our age start worrying about: high blood pressure, heart disease, and even diabetes. That lingering anger, the resentment you're nursing, it's not just an emotion. It's a physiological state. It's a self-produced poison, and you're drinking it every day hoping the other person will get sick. But the only one being affected is you. They are likely sleeping soundly, living their life, completely unaware of the storm raging inside you. Meanwhile, you're paying the price with your health. This isn't to say your pain isn't real, or that you're to blame for being hurt. No. What happened to you was wrong. Your feelings are completely valid. But there's now a crucial distinction between pain and suffering. Pain is the immediate sensation of being hurt. Suffering is our choice to hold on to that pain and relive it every day. Pain is inevitable. But suffering, this prolonged torment, is a choice. And it's a choice you have the power to change, starting right now. Ending this loop isn't an act of ignoring what happened. It's an act of radical self-preservation. It's the decision that you will no longer allow someone else's actions from the past to destroy your health in the present. The truth about letting go, acknowledgement and practice. Now, I know what you're thinking. When we talk about ending the cortisol loop, about reclaiming our biological control, a certain phrase always comes up, a piece of advice you're sick of hearing: just let it go. It's said so easily by well-meaning friends, in self-help books, and maybe even by the critical voice in your own head. Why can't I just let it go, you ask yourself. I've read your comments, the heartfelt shares from people on this same journey. One of you wrote, "Letting go is the hardest part for me, but I'm trying." Another asked a question that cuts to the core: how do you let go when the pain is so deep? Those aren't just words on a screen. They are the echo of a universal truth: we know we should let go, but nobody ever actually teaches us how. Society often treats the inability to let go as a moral failure, a weakness. You're told that holding on to the past is toxic, that you're only hurting yourself. And that is, on some level, true. But it's so much more complicated than that. Holding on to pain isn't always a conscious choice. Sometimes, it's a defense mechanism. A part of you believes that if you let go, if you stop feeling angry, then it's like you're saying what they did was okay. It feels like erasing the evidence of a crime, minimizing the severity of the betrayal. Your anger, your pain, feels like the last thing you have left, the only thing that validates the truth of what you went through. Letting go can feel like a final betrayal, this time, a betrayal of yourself. So, let's start by throwing out the idea of just letting go entirely. It's not a switch you can flip. It's not a single decision you make and then everything is fine. Here is the core truth: letting go is not an act, it's a skill. And like any other skill, it requires practice. Think of it like learning to play the piano. You don't sit down and play a Beethoven sonata on day one. You start with scales, with simple finger exercises. You practice every day, not for hours on end, but in short, consistent intervals. Some days you feel like you're making progress. Some days you feel like you're worse than the day before. But you keep at it. Letting go is exactly the same. It is a mental workout, a daily discipline. And the goal of this practice isn't to erase the memory. The goal is to reclaim control over your most precious asset, your attention. Now, let's talk about specific exercises. These aren't abstract ideas, but actions you can start doing today. The first exercise is called the 5-minute piece. The next time you feel the thought loop starting, the anger, the regret, the sadness welling up, give yourself 5 minutes. Just 5. Find a quiet place, sit down, and set a timer. For those 5 minutes, you don't try to push the thought away. Instead, you shift your attention to something tangible, your breath. Feel the air come in through your nose, expanding your chest and belly, and then slowly release it. Every time your mind wanders back to the pain, don't judge yourself. Just gently acknowledge it, like you'd notice a cloud in the sky, and then gently guide your attention back to your breath. This exercise isn't about solving the problem. It's about training the muscle of attention. It teaches your brain that you, not the memory, are the one who decides where your energy flows. The second exercise is write to release. Get a piece of paper and a pen. At the top of the page, write down the name of the person who hurt you. And then, write everything. Every accusation, every ounce of anger, every bit of disappointment. Don't hold back. Let that stream of toxicity flow out of you and onto the page. Write until you have nothing left to write. And then, this is the most important part, you do not reread it. You take that piece of paper, you tear it into tiny pieces, or you take it outside and safely burn it. As you watch the flames consume those words, visualize that you are also burning their power over you. This physical act sends a powerful message to your subconscious: this burden is no longer yours to carry. You've transferred it somewhere else. Finally, the third exercise is harvesting the benefits. Every day, take 1 minute to write down or think about one positive thing that happened in your life because you weren't spending time thinking about them. Maybe you actually tasted your morning coffee. Maybe you had a meaningful conversation with a friend without bitterness creeping in. Maybe it was just a moment where you felt peaceful. By doing this, you are actively rewiring your brain to associate not thinking about the past with pleasure and reward. You are showing yourself, in a tangible way, what you gain when you choose the present. These exercises might seem small, almost too simple for the scale of your pain. But that's the point. Like drops of water can erode stone, these small, consistent actions will slowly wear away the grip the past has on you. You won't wake up one day and be magically healed. But you will start to have moments, then hours, and eventually days, where you realize you haven't thought about them. And in those spaces, your life will begin to grow back. This isn't about ignoring your pain. This is about actively cultivating your peace. If you're ready to start your first mental workout, if you're tired of letting the past dictate your present, then come with me to our most powerful tool yet. We're not just going to learn how to get out of the mud. We're going to learn how to turn that very mud into the foundation for something beautiful and strong. From breakdown to launchpad, the power of post-traumatic growth, PTG. For weeks, months, even years after the hurt, there's an obsessive question that echoes in the darkest corners of your mind. It's a question of just 2 words, but it carries the weight of a world. Why me? Why did this happen to me? Why did I have to endure this betrayal? Why me, when other people seem to be living happy lives? This question, while completely natural, is a sophisticated trap. It's an anchor that throws you into a sea of self-pity and helplessness. Every time you ask, why me, you are unintentionally reinforcing your role as a victim. You're looking backward, searching for a rational reason for an irrational act, an explanation for the unexplainable. You're handing the person who hurt you one final power, the power to define you by the very pain they caused. But what if we change the question? What if, instead of asking a question that pulls us backward, we ask one that pushes us forward? The Stoic philosophers wouldn't waste energy on why. Instead, they would focus on a much more constructive question: what can I build from this? Or, what is this pain preparing me for? This is not just a subtle shift in wording. This is a seismic shift in perspective. It's the move from a defensive stance to an offensive one, from being a victim of circumstance to being an architect of your future. It takes the power away from the past and places it back in your hands, right here in the present moment. It acknowledges that, yes, a hurricane tore through your life and destroyed everything. But now, you're standing in the rubble, and you have a choice. You can sit there and mourn the house that's gone, or you can start picking up the remaining bricks to build a fortress. And this isn't some romantic, pie-in-the-sky idea. This is a real, documented psychological phenomenon. Psychologists Richard Tedeschi and Lawrence Calhoun at the University of North Carolina spent decades studying people who had been through horrific traumas, soldiers returning from war, survivors of natural disasters, people who had lost loved ones. And they discovered something astonishing. While many people struggle with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, a significant portion of people don't just bounce back or return to normal. They bounce forward. They grow. The scientists named this phenomenon post-traumatic growth, or PTG. Research published widely by the American Psychological Association shows that the intense struggle with adversity can act as a catalyst, forcing people to change and develop in ways they never would have in a comfortable life. Your pain, the betrayal you endured, is not a death sentence for your happiness. It can be an invitation to a stronger, wiser, and more authentic version of yourself. This growth often shows up in 5 core areas. Let's look at each one, because you might just recognize yourself in them. First, is a greater appreciation for life. Before the hurt, you probably lived, like most of us, on autopilot. You assumed tomorrow would always come, that the people you loved would always be there. But when betrayal hits, it shatters that illusion of stability. It reminds you that everything can change in an instant. And while that's terrifying, it also brings an unexpected gift: wakefulness. You start to notice the beauty in small things you previously overlooked. The morning sun through your window isn't a given anymore, it's a miracle. A hot cup of coffee, a conversation with a friend who truly cares, the sound of a child's laughter, these things become intensely precious. You stop living for someday and start living for today, because you learn the hard way that today is all we ever really have. Second, are deeper, more meaningful relationships. When betrayal happens, it's like an earthquake that shakes your entire social network. People you thought were friends suddenly disappear. People offer empty platitudes or try to minimize your pain. But then there are others. The ones who just sit with you in your silence. The ones who bring you a meal because they know you don't have the energy to cook. The ones who listen to you tell the same story over and over without judgment. Pain acts as a cruel but effective filter. It burns away the superficial, convenience-based relationships and reveals the true connections, the ones built on genuine love and empathy. You may end up with fewer friends, but your circle will be solid as steel. You learn that the quality of your relationships is far more important than the quantity. Third, and perhaps most importantly, is the discovery of new personal strength. There's a saying that a bone, once broken and healed, can become stronger at the point of the break. The same is true for the human spirit. In your darkest moments, when you thought you couldn't take another second, you did. You got through another day. And then another. Every day you survived the storm was a testament to your resilience. There will come a day when you look back and realize an incredible truth: the worst thing happened, and you're still standing. That feeling, the knowledge that you faced hell and walked out of it, grants an unshakable self-confidence. The fear of life's little daily anxieties begins to fade. You stop worrying about what others think of you, because you've faced a much greater trial. You realize your strength isn't in avoiding pain, but in your ability to face it and move through it. Fourth, is seeing new possibilities in life. Often, we follow a set path. We have a plan for our career, our family, our future. But betrayal is like a landslide, it completely wipes out that path. Your 5-year plan suddenly becomes meaningless. And in that initial chaos, you feel lost. But when the dust settles, you realize something: when the only path you knew is gone, you're forced to look up and see the landscape. You start to see other paths, other trails you never noticed before. Maybe you decide to go back to school, to pursue a long-forgotten passion. Maybe you move to a new city, start a completely different career. The destruction of your old life, as painful as it was, is the prerequisite for building a new one that is more aligned with the person you are becoming. Finally, there is a spiritual or philosophical change. This doesn't necessarily mean you become more religious, though for many it does. Rather, it refers to grappling with life's big questions. Extreme suffering forces you to think about meaning, about purpose, about what really matters. You might develop a deeper compassion for others who are in pain. You might realize that happiness doesn't come from external achievements, but from inner peace. You stop living a surface-level life and start craving a deeper connection, to yourself, to others, and to something larger than yourself. Understanding post-traumatic growth is not about minimizing your pain. That pain is real and it is unfair. But PTG offers a message of hope. It says that even in the darkest chapters of our lives, the potential for growth and renewal exists. It says that the person you become after the storm can be even more brilliant and resilient than the person you were before. This pain is not an end point. It can be a gateway, a painful but necessary beginning for the rest of your life. Your weapons, boundaries and intelligent forgiveness. As you begin your healing journey, you'll realize that focusing solely on your inner world isn't enough. You are rebuilding a beautiful garden inside your soul, but you also need a strong fence to protect it from future trespassers and storms. In Stoic philosophy, those fences are boundaries. And in the modern world, we understand that boundaries aren't just an idea, they are an essential psychological tool for survival and growth. This is where we shift from healing old wounds to preventing new ones. And the first weapon in your arsenal, the most powerful tool for protecting your newfound peace, is a deliberate and unapologetic boundary. What is a boundary? It is not a wall you build to isolate yourself from the world. That's fear. A boundary is a gated entrance. You, and only you, get to decide who is allowed in, when, and what rules they must follow while in your space. For years, you may have lived with an open-door policy. You gave your time, energy, and kindness freely, assuming others would do the same. But then you learned a painful lesson: not everyone deserves unlimited access to your soul. Some people are guests, they come, enrich your life, and respect your space. But others are invaders. They come to take, to drain, to sow chaos, and they will stay until there is nothing left to take. How do you tell the difference? There is a simple but incredibly effective test, one I call the boundary litmus test. It works like this: the next time someone asks for something you don't want to give, or when they steer a conversation in a toxic direction, gently but firmly set a boundary. It can be as simple as saying, "I'm sorry, but I can't help with that right now." Or, "I don't feel comfortable talking about this, can we talk about something else?" Or even just not responding to a demanding text message immediately. And then, watch. Watch their reaction very carefully. That reaction will tell you everything you need to know about the true nature of this relationship. A person who genuinely cares about you, who respects you as a separate individual, will respond with understanding. They might say, "Oh, okay, no problem, I get it." Or, "Thanks for letting me know." They might be a little disappointed, but they will respect your decision. But a person who is only with you for what they can get, a manipulator, a narcissist, will react completely differently. Their reaction will fall into one of three categories: anger, guilt-tripping, or victimhood. They might get angry, calling you selfish or unhelpful. "After all I've done for you," they might say. Or they will try to make you feel guilty. "I was really counting on you, I guess I just don't matter to you." Or they will play the victim, suddenly becoming cold and distant, punishing you with silence, hoping your discomfort will make you cave. If you see one of these reactions, take a deep breath and realize this liberating truth: they were never your friend. They were your consumer. They didn't love you, they loved the boundaryless version of you, the version that always said yes, the version that always put their needs before your own. Their anger is not a sign that you did something wrong. It is a sign that you just cut off their supply. To a narcissist, your attention and energy are like oxygen. When you set a boundary, you are cutting off that oxygen supply, and they will panic. They will do everything they can to break down that boundary and reconnect to their supply. Realizing this can be painful, but it is also incredibly empowering. It gives you clarity. It confirms that your withdrawal is not an act of selfishness, but a necessary act of self-preservation. Now, let's talk about the second weapon, one that is often misunderstood but holds unparalleled liberating power: intelligent forgiveness. The moment I say the word forgive, I can feel the resistance from some of you. Forgive? After what they did? Never. That resistance is completely understandable. It comes from the common misconception that forgiving means condoning their actions, that it means saying, "It's okay," and welcoming them back into your life. Let me be clear, that is not the forgiveness we are talking about. That is emotional naivete. The forgiveness we are talking about, the Stoic kind of forgiveness, has nothing to do with the other person. It is entirely for you. Remember when we talked about cortisol and how holding on to anger is poisoning your body from the inside? Resentment is a burden. Imagine you have to carry a heavy sack of rocks on your back every single day. Those rocks represent every cruel word, every act of betrayal. You carry them everywhere. They exhaust you. They slow you down. They prevent you from enjoying the journey. Forgiveness is the conscious decision to put that sack of rocks down. You're not doing it because the rocks deserve to be left behind. You're doing it because you deserve to walk freely. Studies from respected institutions like Johns Hopkins Medicine have confirmed this with scientific data. They found that the act of forgiving can significantly lower your risk of a heart attack, improve cholesterol levels, and promote better sleep. Why? Because when you forgive, you are releasing your body from that chronic fight or flight state. You are giving your nervous system permission to rest. You are telling your body, the war is over. We are safe now. But how do you forgive the unforgivable? It starts by detaching the act of forgiveness from the act of reconciliation. You can forgive someone and still make the wise decision that they are never allowed to have a place in your life again. Forgiveness happens inside of you. Boundaries happen outside of you. Both are necessary. Forgiveness says, "I will no longer let your actions poison my present." A boundary says, "And I will make sure you don't get the chance to poison my future." Try this exercise, find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed. Close your eyes and visualize the person who hurt you standing in front of you. Allow yourself to feel all the anger and the pain. Don't suppress it. Then, say these words, either out loud or in your mind: "I see what you did. I see the pain you caused. I do not condone it. But today, I choose to release myself from the burden of this anger. I do this not for you, but for me. I do this so that I can be free. I forgive you, and I release you. As you say those words, visualize an energetic cord connecting you to them being cut. Feel the lightness as the burden is lifted. You may need to do this many times. Forgiveness is not a one-time event. It's a process. But every time you do it, you are reclaiming a piece of your power. You are choosing peace over conflict, health over sickness, the future over the past. Forgiveness, when paired with strong boundaries, forms a suit of spiritual armor. It makes you nearly invincible. It allows you to walk through the world with an open heart, but with a well-guarded gate. It says, I am capable of love and connection, but I am also wise enough to know when to turn away and protect my peace. And that, my friends, is not weakness. That is the ultimate combination of strength and wisdom. The final victory, unshakable peace and CTA. We've been on a long journey together in these last few minutes. A journey measured not just in time, but in a shift of consciousness. Look back at how far you've come, right here, right now. We started by standing in the wreckage of trust, feeling an invisible wound that wouldn't stop bleeding. Then we pulled back the curtain of emotion to see what was really happening inside your body. You learned that rumination, that painful memory loop, wasn't just a feeling, it was a biochemical process releasing the stress hormone cortisol, eroding your health from the inside out. That was the moment you realized this fight wasn't just in your mind, it was in every cell of your body. Then, we confronted the empty advice to just let go, and replaced it with a more powerful truth: letting go isn't an act, it's a skill practiced daily. You were armed with specific exercises, not to erase the past, but to reclaim control over your attention in the present. We didn't stop at just healing. We aimed higher, discovering the hopeful concept from science: post-traumatic growth. You learned that this terrible pain, the adversity that nearly broke you, was not an end point. It could be the catalyst for a rebirth, a chance to build a version of yourself that is stronger, wiser, and more appreciative of life. And finally, we equipped you with a suit of spiritual armor, weapons not for attack, but for defense. You learned to use the shield of intelligent boundaries to protect your inner garden, and the sword of intentional forgiveness to cut the final toxic energy cord connecting you to the past. This isn't a collection of tips. This is a comprehensive system for transformation. This is the map for you to go from being a victim of your past to an architect of your future. So, what does life on the other side of this journey look like? What does that final victory, that destruction we talked about at the beginning, feel like? It's not a loud explosion. It's not the moment you see them fail. It's not a long overdue apology. The final victory is surprisingly quiet. It feels like a Sunday morning. You wake up, not to an alarm clock, but to the gentle sunlight filtering through the curtains. You lie there for a moment, and you notice something. The silence. Not the silence of the room, but the silence in your head. Your first thought of the day isn't about them. It's not a surge of anger or a dull ache of sadness. Your first thought is about the smell of the coffee you're about to make, the book you're in the middle of reading, the warmth of the blankets. And in that moment, you know you've won. You have destroyed them. Not them as a person, but their ghost in your mind. They no longer get to occupy the most expensive real estate in the world, your first thoughts of the day. You get out of bed, walk to the window, and look outside. The world is the same, but something is different. The colors seem brighter. The air seems fresher. It's not the world that has changed. It's you. You are no longer looking at the world through the lens of your trauma. You are looking at it with the eyes of peace. They might have expected you to crumble. They might have thought you would never get back up. But instead, you did something far more powerful. You built an empire right inside yourself, a place their chaos can never touch. And your peace, your unshakable serenity, is a victory they will never be able to comprehend. This journey is not easy. This path of quiet strength and intelligent healing takes courage. But you don't have to walk it alone. If what we've shared today resonates with you, if you feel like this is the path for you, then I invite you to become a part of this community. Subscribe to the channel. This isn't just a YouTube channel. This is our space to learn together, stumble together, and grow stronger together. This is where sensitive souls learn to be resilient. This is where broken hearts learn to heal intelligently. Welcome home.